You're listening to episode 4 of the Tennis Galaxy podcast. I'm your host Prasad, and joining me are my co-host and analyst Prakash and Rajke. How are you doing, Prakash? How are you doing, Rajke? Prakash, how are you doing?
Hi Prasad. It's good, We are now again the grass season is official and away, so that gets me excited. And yeah, all ready for the biggest tournament, I guess, in tennis in the calendar year.
High five to you, Rajke, because I have an issue with my laptop as well. So I guess we are both logged in from our phones. Can you
Mhm.
hear us?
Of course, I can hear you perfectly, and I'm very excited for the grass season, my favorite time of the year, the grass season.
Yeah, so let's take a note, guys, to everyone who's listening. The grass season is here finally. The grass season is here, and we are going to talk about the Halle Open, the Gary Weber Open. Guys,
Uh,
what can
Prasad,
we
one quick
expect?
thing.
Yeah,
It's not the Jerry Weber Open anymore. This
yeah,
time they got a new sponsor.
perfect. I was getting there,
Uh, right. Yeah, just wanted to make sure. But
So
yeah,
now
and
it's called the Noventi Open, I think.
yes,
I
yes,
think so. Yes, that's the new sponsor they got.
new
Hmm.
sponsors call for a big prize money? Question mark. but but the grass season is here, and it's always been one of the most competitive seasons in the past few years on tour, and so excited to see because our favorite player is also back on court. Talking about the great Roger Federer, and Nadal's going to skip any grass tournament until Wimbledon, so we will see him at the Wimbledon. But Prakash, what does Federer's draw look like, and how much do you see him winning this tournament?
Uh, considering that he's won it 9 times, I think he'll always be in with a chance. And we're going to have a first look at how he's going to be on grass. But I think if past is any indicator, I think he's going to be, uh, yeah, in good hands. And he's going to, I would say, yeah, I think he should be able to make it at least to the finals, is what I would think. And
Hmm.
if he has to play Chorich and Zverev back to back, that could really get it make it tricky for him, especially in the final. But I think from the draw that we have right now, I would say I would pick him at least in the final.
Rajke Federer and Hal is one of the love stories in tennis. 9 titles. We're going for the La Decima. You know what La Decima means. Not. I
Yes.
think this is. I think this is the first time he's going for La Decima, isn't it? 10,
No,
10 titles. Question
no.
mark.
Last year he had the same chance in Hala, but he lost to Choris.
Storage.
In
Yeah.
yeah.
Correct. And what do you make of his potential draws? Let's go with his round of 32 match is against Millman, which is a rematch of the US Open, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, so different tournament, completely different sort of scenario here because at US Open it was a very humid day, and Millman, being from Australia, he said that he was used to those conditions. He practices a lot in those conditions, and those conditions hampered Federer a lot, you know. But at that stage, it was a very worrying loss for Federer. So
Hmm.
this is Federer's chance, you know, to set the record straight, and I think Federer is going to do it. I don't think Millman on grass should pose too many problems to Federer. Yeah, so I expect Federer to win that. No, no more upsets from Millman, at least not on
All right.
grass.
So
No.
uh, all right. So Prakash, here are the draws. Rajke, here are the draws. Projected draw for Federer in Hal and
Mm.
2019. That's Millman in round one, Songa or Pair in round two, Batista
Mm.
Agut in the quarterfinals, Chorich in the semifinals, because it was Chorich or Monfils, but Monfils is out, which we will speak a bit later here in the episode now. And then the final against Zverev. So, Prakash, your take on the Millman game, how can it pan out for Federer? Straight sets win?
Uh, I would. I mean, he has had trouble with him even in the match before. I think in 2015 he played him in Brisbane. That was a three-setter, if I remember right. And so Millman, for some reason, I think even Federer acknowledge that, gives him some trouble. But I would think, yeah, considering that this is the first match on grass, I think this could get tricky. But I'm thinking he'll pull through in like two tough sets. And yeah, most likely I would expect him not to drop the set. I think he'll be really prepared.
All
And
right. So that's a
yeah,
straight two sets win that you're saying. Rajki, and going at the other potential picks for winning this tournament, we have Zverev as who seeded number two, Alex Zverev.
Mhm.
Kachanov is seeded three. Chorich is the defending champion who's seeded four. Monfield is five, but he's out, by the way. He was out last night. Basilashvili is number six. What your take on all these picks? Who do you fancy winning apart from Federer, if not
Uh,
Federer?
so, like, well, let me talk about a guy who I thought would have good chances, but he unfortunately, or depending on the point of view, I mean, like, I like him, so I say unfortunately. This is Philip Kohlschreiber. He lost against Steve Johnson, but he's a very good player on grass. So, but he's out, so that's no longer the case.
Hmm.
Hatsuno, I mentioned during the French Open, I like this guy's game. I think he's got tremendous potential. So Hatsuno is one to watch out for. And then Coric, of course. Coric beat Federer last year. So, I mean, if Coric Federer happens, we could be in for a classic, hopefully, again. And then Zverev, he won today, but I think it's too soon to expect Zverev to completely revive his fortunes, which have not really been good this entire season. So I
Hmm.
think he
Hmm.
gets there, but it's going to take some more time for him. So among all those people, I would say the ones with real good chances are Federer, Chorich, and Hatsuno. These are my top three picks.
Chorich and okay, Zverev, Chorich, and Hatchanov. Prakash, Zverev's had his Zverev had his moment in the games, isn't it? In the past, he still hasn't won a major, and uh, there are reasons where he's touted to be a potential great in the future. Do you see Zverev lifting the Halle Open this year?
uh, Zverev, I think he definitely got the potential. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he made the final a few years back, right?
Hmm.
2017 was it, or 16? He made the final where he beat. I think it was 2016 where he beat Federer in the semifinal. So he's got the game definitely, but he just lost to Brown, I think, in Stuttgart. And again, Brown is a very dangerous player on grass.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So
It's a very
That's
Zverev
fun
it.
beat
game.
Federer beat Zverev in the final in 2017. So
In 70, I think. Okay.
yeah,
So, and 2016, I think team beat Zverev, is it? Or no, someone else beat. I don't remember who won the 2016 one.
so
But I know that Federer.
2016, you're right. Zverev beat Federer uh,
And
in the semifinal. That was a tough three-set match.
and
And
finally
then
lost to, I think, he lose to a German guy, or did he lose to? Uh, I forget this. 2016, who was Zverev lost to? I think it was a German player, if I'm not
so let me.
mistaken.
Okay,
I
it's
think it
Florian
is.
Mayer.
I
It's a
would think so.
Florian
Yeah.
Mayer. Yeah,
Right. I
Florian
think, yeah.
Mayer.
So Florent Meyer kind of beat him. So that's like two final losses, I guess, for Zverev at Halle. So I
Yeah,
guess it's a
w-
tournament he
one
likes,
after
but
beating Federer and one to Federer. So
for two Federer. So
yeah.
he's got the game, but again, no, I think when he comes up against like a real good grass court player, I think when Zverev has to, and he's been not been serving good. Like I think I saw some stat where they said he served like 71 double faults in his last 7 games, 7 matches. So
That's
it's a lot
10
of
a game. That's like averaging a 10 double faults a game.
right, and
That's
a
like
match, and
yeah, conceding like two games, like four double faults, so two games, gifting
right,
two games every match.
exactly, and that could prove costly on grass where serve is very crucial. No, you need to hold your end of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
So,
we
and I
saw
think,
even on clay, against Djokovic,
yeah,
the Zverev match. I think his
yeah,
serve was costly for Zverev.
yeah,
So
it proved really, yeah. I think So I think on that end, I think with the Kachino there, right, who's I feel got a better at this point, right?
Yeah, he won his
He
game.
implements his
He
game
won.
better,
Hmm.
than Zverev does on the grass. Zverev doesn't uh, impose his big game as much, as he should on these grass courts. Whereas Kachanov, I think he knows he's been doing that quite well on the hard courts, and I think and the grass. So I think I expect him to be the guy, from that side. So I think Zverev will make it to the semifinals, but I'm thinking Kachanov beats him there in the semifinals.
And that's one thing. We are on the day second day of the tournament, by the way, and we've
Right.
got some interesting matchups here. We've got Chorich versus Munar. We've got Payer versus Songa. It's an all French battle, and we've got Paya versus Goffin, which can turn out to be a classic.
Paya
Rajke,
versus Goffin. Yeah.
yeah, Rajke, let's have your take on Paya versus Goffin and Payer versus Songa.
So I'd pick Goffin there because I think he's a better grass court player, more experienced. Paya is a Spanish player, so like many Spanish players, he's very comfortable on clay.
Argentine.
And he,
Paya
sorry,
is Argentine.
Paya is
Paya
Argentina,
is
yeah.
Argentina.
Argentine.
Sorry, yeah, but
Yeah.
well, let me just
Yeah,
change it
clay
to
court. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
many Latin
Yeah.
Americans, he's very comfortable on clay.
Right.
Maybe it's the fact that he speaks Spanish. There's something,
Huh.
about how the clay court players. There's many great clay court players from both Spain and Latin
Argentina.
America and
Right.
Argentina. So I would say that yeah, Goffin is a favorite there, and Songa versus Pair is a little bit tough for me to call because Songa is a great grass court player. You may recall him beating Federer in 2011 Wimbledon, for
Oh,
example.
Yes.
the comeback, is it the comeback
Yes,
from
yes,
two
the
sets
comeback
down?
man.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Now Songa is not the same player, but grass for two sets, he's a very, very dangerous person. So dangerous player, not so much a dangerous person. So I'd say Songa and Goffin. Those are my picks for those two matches. And which was the third one?
Yeah, it was Chorich versus Munar, the defending champion Chorich.
Chorich.
Yeah,
Chorich. Definitely.
meanwhile, while we are at it, we have Basilashvili versus Berrettini, and Berrettini won a title
Yeah.
coming
So
into Hal.
Berrettini won a title yesterday in Stuttgart,
Hmm.
and on Sunday in Stuttgart, and he beat Felix Auger Aliassime. Who's I think one of the next great, really great players, up and coming players. And I saw parts of the match. He played quite well, and he had a good clay season as well. So it's interesting that he had a good clay season and doing so well on grass too. So I'm going to pick, and he's playing Chorich, right? Though, but yeah. So then I'm going to pick Chorich, but that would be a good match. So Chorich, Goffin, Songa.
All right. Prakash, I've been reading up on the news here and there, and
Uh-huh.
Roger Federer says he's fresh, rested, and ready to go for the grass court season. Now, we've seen post 2016 his injury, how he's made a
Right.
comeback into the sport and won three Grand Slams, with Wimbledon being one of them. Last year, he kind of went out against Anderson. If I'm not correct me
Right.
if I'm wrong. Yeah, Philip Anderson. What
Kevin
mindset?
Anderson.
What? Oh, yeah.
Kevin Anderson.
Kevin Anderson, yes. And
Yeah.
can you tell us more about how things might pan out? I think we had a very interesting talk in the group where you talked about his mentality, so and so. If it is one thing, he will go through and get the big ones, or not, then he will crash out. Can you speak a bit more about that?
Huh. So I think at this point, right now with Federer, I would say uh, it's a match to match basis that you got to take things with, and I think we will see how this playing the clay season will affect him. Because he hasn't had in a way as much time to prepare as last 2 years because he's um, played on clay this time.
He's,
But then
yes,
his
he's played on clay.
right, and his mindset was, at least before playing clay, was that he needed that kind of uh, like he needed to stay in the match mentality, or that kind of mind frame where you have practice is not the same as actually playing matches. And he thought maybe last year, staying out of matches for about 3 months
Hmm.
did not do him enough good in the grass season. So it's kind of a trade off, So you trade off your rest for this match mentality, which you pick up only by playing matches.
Yeah, and I
And as
think
he,
correct, and as yeah, go on.
yeah, he's had I mean, if you look at the clay season itself, right? I think
Yeah.
he had some nice good wins, and
Yep.
even the loss at French Open. I mean, it was to Nadal, and on conditions you can say with the wind being so kind of bad, it was kind of a topsy turvy day. So it was not like uh, you can say it was a good day to lose, in sense because of the wind, right? It's like it's not a day where everything was perfect, and that he made the mistakes. You would say the wind had a big say in that. So I would say he's had a pretty good clay season uh, on the mental side. On the physical side, also, he wasn't really stretched. He didn't have this. He did give a walkover, I think, in Rome, or was it Madrid? One of those two. He gave a walkover, but I think that was precautionary. I think it was in Rome that he kind of withdrew before semi-final or quarterfinal. So that's, I think, uh, I would say Federer. It all depends right now on this tournament. Halle, if he, because it's the only tournament he's playing, he would hope to get like a lot of matches under his belt. The ideal thing being, of course, winning it. But again, grass is like a very competitive surface, and things can happen very fast. The margin for error is like really small. So yeah,
And
we'll have to wait and see.
yeah, we have
But
to wait and see. Yeah.
Federer has been, I mean, he's a proven master at this. He's this surface for the last 15 years. You can say he's been then probably the greatest player on this surface in the open era. So let's wait. I think I'm expecting him to do well, but yeah, we'll know the answers.
And Rajke, let's not. Let's also get talking about one point, which is the seeding. And if Roger Federer wins the Halle Open, he will get seeded number two for the Wimbledon, which sounds an interesting prospect because I think then he will avoid the big two and face them in the final, isn't it? He will be on the other side of the draw.
So he will avoid Djokovic, yes, because the
Yes.
first and second can only play in the final. But
Yep.
he can play number three in the semi-final as well. It's random, so number three can play either one or two. But he avoids Djokovic, and I think that's important. But last time we had this conversation, Prakash had made the point that maybe it's better for Federer, from his point of view, to play Djokovic in the semi-final. So
Yeah.
if that's what you think, then maybe it's better not to get this, number two seeding.
So, so anyway, Prakash, it's going to be back-to-back games for Federer in the Wimbledon if he goes on as number two seed, isn't it? Like face Nadal in the semi-final and then Djokovic in the final.
That depends on the draw, I would think, right? If I mean, if he's seeded three, of course, it's going to be a back-to-back thing he'll have to do if seedings hold up. But if he gets the number two seeding, then obviously there's a chance he may avoid that, till the final. And Nadal and Djokovic, if they end up in the semi-final and they have end up having a semi-final like last year's, it might
Yeah.
end up, benefiting him in the final. But my
because
thinking is, yeah,
the way the draws work is one and two go on opposite sides of the draw, but
draw,
three does
yeah,
not always play one. Three can play one or
uh,
three can play two. So that's random.
if-
It's a common misconception that one plays three and two plays four in the semi. That's not true. So one and two go on opposite sides, and then three plays one of them randomly, and four plays the other randomly in the semifinals. So
right. So yeah, so because of that, and my belief is that if he has to play Djokovic, it should be in the semi-final than the final.
Yep.
Given his past last few performances, I think he will need that kind of. I mean, he doesn't need that kind of mental baggage in a final. So I
So
think,
the Hall Open,
yeah,
yeah, correct. And you're correct on the mental side, whatever we are listening. But Prakash, let's let's have one last talking point on this episode, and that because we've almost spoken about everything: Federer, the potential draws, the other top picks, and we've also gone about how winning this tournament is important for him. Let's talk about how far, what next after Hal, what next after Wimbledon, what do we expect from Federer in the grass season? What are your expectations? Let's start with Raj K first.
So I expect Federer to do really well in this grass season, and as I said, he's one of the favorites for Hala, and it would be a bit of a surprise actually if he did not win it. And then, as Prakash was saying, the fact that he had such a good clay season, and you think that clay is Federer's weakest surface.
Hmm.
Not that it's bad, but compared to his grass and hard court, it's definitely his weaker surface. And even there, he reached the semifinals. So you'd have to think that if he reached semi at French Open, I mean, you would expect him to do better than that, right? So I'd expect him to reach the final. And then
Hmm.
it's going to be a very interesting match if he plays Djokovic in the final. And I still think that getting number two seeding would be good for him,
Hmm.
because if he reaches the final, it's possible that Djokovic uh, loses before that as well. So that gives him more chance if he wanted to avoid having to play Djokovic. So I would still rather that he win Hala and get that number two seeding and avoid Djokovic and then win Wimbledon. That's possible.
Yeah, Prakash.
Yeah.
Let's go to Prakash. Roger Lever and at the
Hmm.
rate Roger Lever. Prakash, where do you see Roger at the end of the grass season? I know it's a tough question to
Uh,
answer at this moment because it's just Hal and then we have Wimbledon. But yeah,
right.
knowing for the past let's say 1.5 decades, where do you see Federer after the grass season?
So yeah, so this is what I was thinking about, right? So 7 years back, 2012, right? The last time Federer made the semis, I think at the French Open was that, right? 2012. When he
2012.
was
Hmm.
That's right. Yeah.
right.
He lost
Yeah,
to
Hmm.
and he
Djokovic
won
in the semis.
Hmm.
semifinals, and he won the
Wimbledon.
Wimbledon that year. And of course, 7 years before that, he lost also in the semifinals in French Open to Nadal.
Nadal, and then he
And
beat Roddick in the final in Wimbledon. Yeah.
right. So and also this is an interesting thing. In 2012, when he lost to Djokovic in the semifinal, he also beat him at in the semifinal at Wimbledon in 2012. So
Yes.
yeah, so I think that bodes well for him that that he's given his performance in the clay season and that he won Miami just before the clay season. So the last title of clay, a big title of clay, was won by Federer. So I think that
Hmm.
gives him a good chance, going
Yeah.
into Wimbledon. And the grass is always you got to give Federer uh, on his day. I think there's nobody cannot beat. So
The king is back, like they say.
yeah,
The
on the
king,
grass, and
yeah.
uh, we'll have to hope that as a first. Yeah, irrespective of actually what happens in Halle, right? I think it's all about the draw at this time, the way things are, right? The slam, any slam from, I think, at least for the next, till this next generation takes over someone, or, till they take on a commanding faction, it's going to be always dependent on the draw. And,
Hmm.
so we'll only know, I think, when we get the draw out, like with that, the French Open, right? So if Federer gets a draw like what Nadal got at the French Open, that might be yeah, that might work in Federer's favor. So
Okay. So Federer's potential draw is has been discussed. I mean, we've discussed all the potential, the picks that might win the tournament as well. Rajke, are we
right.
missing anything on today's episode?
Well, I mean, there's another tournament going on as well, which is
Right.
traditionally also a warm up for Wimbledon, which is the Queens.
Yeah.
Um, so there are a few people to watch out for there as well. Cilic,
Mhm.
good grass court player. Kevin Anderson, we know how good he can be on grass, so that's worth watching as well. Even if your attention is primarily on Hala, keep an eye open for the other one as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anderson seeded number two there, and Chilich is number five. And
And Cilic is a defending champion. He beat
yes,
Djokovic
Cilic is
last time.
defending
yes,
champion.
and
Yeah.
we have Medvedev as well, who knocked out Verdasco.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so the draws there look like, let's say we have Wawrinka's game today. Wawrinka Evans, Del Potro
Right. That should be
Shapovalov,
a good match. Del Potro Shapovalov should be fun.
and
And
Tsitsipas and Edmund.
that should also be
Hmm.
a very good match. Tsitsipas and I
We
think
also have
Tsitsipas is the
Milos
number one seed
Raonic.
there.
Milos.
Yeah, Raonic as well. Yeah, correct. We have Raonic
And
as well, and we have Cecchinato and Raonic. And then we also have Kyrgios versus Manarino, and
Wonderful.
We have Dimitrov playing as well on the day.
Yeah.
and
It's
he's
a
playing
great tournament.
Yeah,
Felix Auger Aliassime. So that should
Yeah.
be good. Should be a
Yeah.
fun match.
all
So
right.
we
I'm a
got
big
nice
Felix fan.
matches.
And
Yeah,
by
so
the
it
way,
will.
Prakash,
Yeah.
It's Cilic versus Schwartzman in the round of 16, and Kevin Anderson versus Jill Simon there, which is on a Wednesday. So
Those should be fun matches.
I remember,
Schwartzman.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think our pick of Schwartzman in the French Open will be one of the memories I will never forget, because
right,
kind of, the guy has it, but not everyone makes it, but he has it in
right,
him. On his day, he can beat the best, and
right.
that didn't turn out. But Rajke, let's have your predictions on this tournament. Tsitsipas going all the way, considering that he's the number one seed, or let's say Chill is defending his title there at the Queens.
Oh, this is so tough. I somehow don't see Tsitsipas winning because there are way too many good players here to say anything with any certainty. So even if Tsitsipas is the favorite, it just means he's more likely than the others. But still, when you combine all the other people, their probability of winning is probably higher than Tsitsipas here, right? So you
Hmm.
have Kyrgios, Dimitrov, Del Potro, Cilic. It's just too many players. So I'm gonna take a bit of a gamble here and say that I think it's going to be Chilis. That's
All
it. So
right.
I'm gonna back Chilis here. Yeah.
Prakash, let's have your prediction on the tournament as well.
Uh, I'm thinking, or at least I would hope Del Potro does because we haven't. I mean, he can play on grass. Like he made the semifinals in Wimbledon in 2013, and he was there in a pretty good match with Nadal last year in the quarterfinals. I think it was a five-setter, and in the Olympics also, right? He won the bronze in 2012 Olympics, which
Hmm.
was played at Wimbledon. So this guy can play on grass, Del Potro. So I'm hoping, he kind of gets the title. That would be very exciting. And I think I'll just take a gamble with him and say Del
Yes,
Potro, even though he
Del
could lose
Pot.
tomorrow to Shapovalov in the match. So let's see. Let's go
Yeah,
with Del Potro.
I think the warm up, the Wimbledon still looks like there's still some time for Wimbledon. I think 10, 12 days more. 1st of July, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong. It's
Yes. Yeah, I
17th.
think
Yeah,
Wimbledon put out a tweet saying a fortnight before the fortnight begins or something like that. So,
yeah, and
Well,
and
it's 2 Mondays right from now. So yeah.
yeah.
correct. 2 Mondays, and we can't wait to get there because it's the third Grand Slam of the year. It's probably the biggest Grand Slam of the four,
Of
and
course. Why?
uh,
What do you
uh,
mean? Probably.
Mm,
no, for the newbie fans who are listening, so that
mm,
you can raise that point. So very good discussion on the Hall Open and the thing, but let's come back next Monday as well. I think people put out a message to me last night saying, "Where's the episode?" I said, "Yeah, we're doing it on a Tuesday this time,
right.
Monday US time." But the response has been good so far, and
Nice.
people are loving it. The discussions are sort of setting in, and if the viewers are listening and you have any questions, you know where to find us. Just tweet to us on at the rate Roger Lever on Twitter, and we will have your questions answered by the two maestros who are talking to me right now. So, Rajke, before we go, and Prakash, before we go, anything that you would like to add on from here?
Well, I would like to say that grass season is very short, unfortunately, compared to the clay season and hardcourt season. So make sure that not only do you watch Wimbledon, but also at least the semifinals and the finals this week. In fact, it's very exciting with two tournaments going on with very high quality players. So
Ab-
make sure that you catch some of those matches at least.
Yes, and Prakash, before we let you speak, let me just say that we've to our viewers who are listening, we are in this the episodes that we are putting right now are previews, prediction, and reviews, and we plan to do some special episodes going forward, let's say a story of a Federer or Nadal for our fans who haven't seen him play at his peak, or let's say who hasn't followed tennis back then from the early ages. And we have a lot of interesting stuff that's coming up, which we will keep you posted. So let's ask Roger Lever now to end this episode.
Yeah, Prasad. So, yeah, the grass season, right? And we got the biggest slam in front of us with Wimbledon. So, and as we discussed earlier during the French Open, the big four are still defending this slam, since 15 years. And
Hmm.
so it's the last 16 slams and counting. And so it's going to be exciting to see if anyone can break through.
Hmm.
And I would say I still think one of the big three is going to win it. But yeah, it will be exciting to see if someone can step on them.
Perfect.
And yeah,
Perfect. Before we go, the two things to watch out are the Halle Open and we have the Queens.
Queen's
And
Open.
we will be back on a Monday discussing the winners and what next for them, because we are just 2 Mondays away from Wimbledon, which is going to be a cracker. So, signing out on this episode with Raj K and Prakash. Stay tuned for more on the Tennis Galaxy podcast.